wouldn't it be nice if we can tell, to the extent possible, the story of private broadcasting in Western regions, Sekeni Takoradi specifically, from day one, the people who were champions of that enterprise. So I just thought for this one industry, and given what I saw and experienced and participated in, I thought, why don't I get back to all of you great people that I worked with, talk to you so we can remind ourselves of the early memories, all the things we went through as one of the basis of a possible book that I hope I can write in the future. And in fact,
Oh, that
I've told a few of our colleagues that I feel, not very confident saying I'll write a book because it's going to be a huge endeavor. However, I want to be sure that at least I try.
is great. I'm for it.
Thank you. So, Ewurama, as much as I certainly was there before you came, I have
Mm.
no recollection whatsoever how you got to Skyy. How did you become associated with Skyy?
So I had finished this form, applied to the university. I applied to University of Ghana, and the letters, the admission letters started coming. My mates were receiving their letters. I wasn't receiving any. Only for me to realize later that almost all my mates applied to all the three public universities. So that at least if you don't get one, you get the other. But I wanted Legon, so I stuck to it, and I didn't get admission that year. So I had to wait for another year. And I was so down that I had to refocus my energies into something else because it was getting to depression. So my mom encouraged me, and I went to buy a bundle of envelopes and a pad, writing pad, and wrote numerous application letters to schools, hotels, shops, whatever. I was just moving up and down, just distributing the letters. And then I brought one to Skyy. Someone advised me to bring one to Skyy. So I came there, took my letter, and immediately was another received the letter with my CV and everything. He empaneled some people, and I was interviewed. I remember Mamisi McCanson, I remember Big Bro, I remember Adamufa, and I think John was also part of it, if I remember correctly. And then there was SO, if I got the name right,
Uh,
SO. There was this man.
Samuel Answer.
He had a nickname. Well,
Yeah. So
uh,
SO. Yeah.
yeah.
I remember. Yes.
Uh-huh. So these people were there. I was interviewed, and Rosanata asked why I was not going to school because I had good grades. And, I was so desperate for the job. I said no. I wanted to hold on, but he encouraged me. I said okay. I should be auditioned. So I was sent to the studio, and they were out. I read. I was given a script to read, a new script. I read, and I came out, and I remember my Mr. McCanson synod, Methodist synod, and I said synod. I remember that word. And then another word I was corrected, and that was this. I was asked to start work because that was the time that Nadole something was going to school,
Mm-hmm.
and Kojo Frimpong, they were all my mates, and they had gained admission, so
Mm-hmm.
they were leaving, and they needed Sky needed some replacement. So I started at the reception as a receptionist, and in the evenings, I think from 4 p.m., I would read the news with Esijan. Like that, it went on for some time, and then an office was opened at Market Circle, and Sofa and I were, no, was it Sofa? There was another lady. Well, we went to man that office. So around 2 p.m., Wilson will pick me up, and then we'll go to the station, to the office, and then I'll continue with news reading. And it went on. In fact, I was just a news reader, receptionist news reader. I didn't know much about journalism. All that I knew was how to read. And SO also guided me with some pronunciations, and it was pronunciations reading. I wasn't really taught how to script. So the next year I applied to the university. This time around, all the three universities, but I got my leg on, so I went to Legon, and it became a vacation job. Like I can't just read the news, come and read the news, and I think when I finished the university, I was doing my national service in Lagos as a teaching assistant, but I became seriously sick, and my mom said no, she wants me in Saturday. So I had to stop that and then go to the National Service Secretariat. I've been posted to BRA, but
Mm-hmm.
Wilson said I should come back and manage events for him.
Mm-hmm.
So I stopped BRA and then came to continue my national service at Skyy as the events manager. And from events, I also was moved to news editing. I think along the line, I started going for assignments.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the first story was an exclusive story that one intern and I wanted to do. And I had no idea about journalism. I remember Sylvia Donko, the way she loved us. She encouraged us to go and do a story. We went, this time, so we came back. And now, with hindsight, I laugh at myself because I couldn't really identify, or I can't identify the head nor tail of that story. It was just a story. and, and so, but then I realized that no, I am doing this, but I don't have the skill. So I started paying more attention. I started reading around, learning on the job and all that. So I started scripting, small like that. And then eventually, um, I I think started TV, and because I'd done theater arts at the university, it also moved me to the TV side. And the TV side, I did theater, stage work, just a little bit about TV, but I was moved there, and Texan, I've forgotten his name, Casey Texan came DOP, all these professionals came in, and I had no clue what all that was about. You see, these people were movie makers, but you can't use movie makers for TV because TV is like news. You go by the time. I think I even developed some sickness along the line also because you come to work, they'll pick you up around 3 a.m. And by the time you're going home around 11 to 12 midnight, 3 a.m., you are picked up again. You are spending virtually the whole day at the office. But I learned on the job. And gradually, I became confident. I knew what they were talking about in their white balancing, long shots, whatever, bird's eye, all those, this. I learned everything. And along the line, I think two of you guys left. You were around when TV came, right?
Yes,
So you left.
I was there. In fact, I left very, very early 2005.
Um, so you left. Kanyana left. Cyrus left. So we had to take over the reins, and I became the news editor, and we managed that small, combining radio and TV. He wanted to synergize it, both radio and TV, so that if you work for radio, you work for TV. It
Mhm.
was a tough one, but something that now I'm grateful for because when I went to Media General, I didn't struggle. They were doing TV3, TV3, and then
Yes.
I was with the group that started 3FM, their English radio station, and they wanted to synergize TV and radio, but they were struggling.
Yeah.
But because of my experience, I could work on any of the platforms, and that really, really helped me. I really stood out because I had that experience. He gave me the opportunity to learn because he was just moving me events, um, programs, operations, news. I was just being moved around, and I gained a lot of experience. So I was with them, and then along the line, I left to work with Vanuatu International
Mm-hmm.
for I think a year or two, a year and a half or so. Then we had moved to Accra. So he started chatting me about coming back to Takoradi and all that. We were friends on Facebook. Then he sent Joe to Takoradi. You know, Joe had left way back to multimedia,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then he later rejoined Sky. He and Pakopi, they rejoined Sky, and then Joe came back, and apparently Willie told him to get me on board. So we talked, and then I went back as the news editor. And I worked with him for a while. Then I decided that I needed a certificate to show that, everything I'd learned on the job. I didn't have anything to show that I'm a journalist.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to UCC, University of Cape Coast, to do communication. And when I came back, after I was done with I realized that I wasn't content. I was dissatisfied with my environment. So one day I went home, and when I switched on the TV2 was announcing that it was recruiting news anchors, blah 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 blah. So I just sent an application. I went for the interview and all that, and the rest is history. So I left Sky. That was 2016.
That's quite a story, Rama. And sure, I can say that I saw and witnessed some of that story.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
you
I've
know.
even forgotten the radio drama and the me Baba Blankson and all those.
Yes, I remember
uh,
Princess Cinema. Yeah, and you ladies had a certain undefeatable, spirit. You were hungry for success, and you gave it your all. From what I remember, it was amazing to see. Yeah. So, which year did you join Sky initially?
I joined Sky in '98. When I joined Sky, Sky was about celebrating its first anniversary.
So, of course, that was at 37 Windy Ridge, long before
Yes,
1920 West Fiji happened.
yes.
Well, in a way, you would have seen Sky as an outsider first, because 1998 means this station would have been operating for a year before you joined, because it started in October 1997. So, as an outsider for that first year, how did you perceive Sky? How did Sky come across in Western region in secondary Takrady?
Well, I saw Sky as a better alternative, and I saw it as huge. Like we were used to Twin City, maybe the Twin City. So something different, something that resonated with me because it was more youthful. That time, whenever I would hear Nadole or Mami Fwa Deju reading the news,
Mm-hmm.
I would tell myself that I can do better than these ladies. I would always whenever I heard them reading the news, I used to tell myself that I can do better than these ladies because when I was a kid, that time cassette player, you can record your voice and then you listen to it. When I was a kid, my dad would usually come home with the newspapers, and when he gets home, he just throw it at you, expecting you to read. And me being the only girl, I didn't really have playmates, so I loved reading. And then another thing became a pastime. I would put the cassette in the tape, start recording, and then I'll be reading like Beatrice Adu, Barbara Sam, because I used to admire them a lot. So after I record I would listen to it and see whether I sounded like them. If I didn't sound like them, then I said, no, no, I didn't do well. And I was just playing. I didn't even know I would be on radio. I was just playing with it. I was enjoying reading and listening to myself and all that. And then I started hearing Mamisi McCann moderating newspaper review. And I used to enjoy it. I enjoyed the way she took that leadership role, moderating it. And I told myself that, yeah, I want to be like that. you know, my attitude towards Sky was more of curiosity, perhaps, and then um, I listened to challenge myself, a platform where I could learn. But it excited me too. It excited me. I never thought I'll be on that platform, but it excited me when I listened to Sky. I'll be like, oh, I can do that. Oh, I can do this. I can do that, and all that. That was my attitude. But generally, as part of the outsiders, I think everybody was excited about Sky, the fact that Takwadi has its own private radio station. And Sky was bringing in new things which were different from the BBC thing that we were used to. Music, the shows, the programs, and then the events. The events also added a spice to it. It became something, a matter of pride. When it comes to Saturday, we also have Sky kind of thing. Yeah. So that was basically the attitude, generally. Though I had something else apart from this.
And now that you say these things, one of the ways I remembered you is that you were a person with ambition. You were dead serious in achieving it, even if you didn't know what the end goal was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously,
something. So it's always these things that I was ambitious, I was focused, and all that. It surprises me because I've always seen myself as a playful person, and I see myself as someone. If you give me a responsibility, yes, that one I will do it. I will execute it to the best of my ability. But I've never seen myself as an ambitious, focused. I see myself as more playful. So when you say these things, I'm like, wow, really?
Does that suggest
It's
I'm not the
interesting.
first to say?
Yes, you're not.
Good,
You're not. So I don't know
good.
myself well.
Yeah, I am glad to hear that only because I haven't had a chance to talk to you face to face for a long time. I haven't witnessed your transition out of
Mm,
Sky and back to Sky and out of Sky again, and all the things you've
yeah.
achieved with TV3 and the radio station in Takrady. Now, with the top
Mm,
radio station you are managing. But what it shows as well is that there's a certain consistency in your trajectory. Yes, I do know you as a playful person as well, but
uh-huh.
underneath that is a certain seriousness, and I was most often a serious person, so I'm
Mm,
usually slow in starting friendship, but it took me
mm,
some time to fall to the level of being playful with you and even being friends. In fact, I distinctly remember it must have been one of those anniversaries, probably the second anniversary. We sat there
mm,
just watching Sky and thinking about how significant things are. And then it was easy to see the things we had in common. And then I thought,
mm.
okay, this girl is serious after all. you know, it took
You.
me some time, mind you. I was in a situation where I was already at Sky before you came,
Yeah.
and the newsroom tends to be naturally a very serious environment,
Very
and
hot place.
very very hot,
Suppose. Oh.
you know so yeah, but I certainly could see that determination, and like you said, it is when you are handed responsibility, you handle it in a way that tells any real observer that, look, you are onto something, like I remember when you came, the way you and Samuel Answer SO, I could see the way he was training you and how seriously you were taking it. And Samuel Ansah is a highly intelligent person, highly intelligent person. It's almost like
Yeah.
he himself is unaware of how intelligent he is. I'm not surprised he's ended up as a judge of the circuit court the last time I spoke to him.
I will even recognize him if I see him. I remember the name, but I don't remember the face and all that. I joined Skyy. It wasn't that long before he left.
Right. Yeah. He was very particular about language, the quality of language,
Yeah.
pronunciations, and he had a horrible handwriting. Man,
I remember.
because computers were not always available for writing, and I'm not even sure if I remember he knew how to use the computer. There's what we call touch type. I knew touch type, and I could type with my eyes closed, but not everyone was able to do so. So sometimes what happened was some of the guys will write the news in their own handwriting, and then we kind of
Right.
converted it, typed it out. And he had the worst handwriting I've ever seen. And I keep thinking to myself, how can he be so intelligent and yet have the worst handwriting? But
The mind works faster than the hand.
yes, but he was a pleasant person to deal with, very, very pleasant person to deal with, and just how he was very thoughtful. So, with how you were hungry and being in a company of such a person, including all the other great guys, I mean, we could mention all the names, incredible people. It was an environment where you certainly grew hugely.
Yeah.
And I remember your news reading ability. You were able to enunciate clearly. Your enthusiasm when you are reading, and all the qualities of a news reader was there. I mean, without question. Along with people like Mama V. I don't know if you would. Mama V would have
Mama
come
Vicky.
later. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, Mami Fwan, the Graft Edu, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And Sylvia Odonko. There
Yes.
was something. I don't know if you noticed it, but it seemed like when each of us ended up in the studio, something changes about us, where it's almost as if the person you knew is not the one in the studio. Someone else emerges in the studio.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah. Uh-huh. You're right. After all the fights and the play and everything in the newsroom, immediately we entered the studio. It was like, um, we have to be serious. This is it, kind of thing. And it was nice. Yeah, it was a great feeling.
And tell me also about the environment at Skyy. There was a certain
Oh,
feeling that it was a family.
we were family. It was so nice, and that's one thing that I miss so much. Um, Even though it changed, when the family became larger, the addition of the TV and new people coming and everything, it changed. But at that time, it was beautiful. When we are going to eat, we all eat together. You remember the presenters room?
Mm-hmm.
When you're tired, you just want to relax there. You come, oh, be chatting, laughing. Oh, it was great. It was great. I remember on Friday evenings, I think you didn't used to join, but JM would arrange, and then JM would pack all of us into a small white car, and we'll go. At times, we go to the club. At times, maybe someone has been invited to a party. We'll all go there. We plan our weekend. We were always together. Even when you are home, you want to go to work because you'll be bored at home. That kind of thing. it, people will just come to the office because they don't have anything to do and just be hanging out. Later, a lawyer Monday, and we're that close that you visit each other at home. A lawyer can come and spend the whole day. At times, you come, you go to the Chapel Hill flat. If you done, at Kwamina. We go and spend the day there. We always wanted to be together. Even with church. That time, Yafanti was attending ICGC. And we all trooped there. So we don't call JM, all of us, we trooped there. It was a beautiful family. That was great, man. I miss that, that feeling. That feeling, yeah.
And
It
I
was great.
remember those days we would always, you would buy lunch, sometimes lunch, usually maybe kenke and fish or wache.
Ah,
When you buy that and
don't
you
talk
bring
about
it to the
lunch yet.
office, when you buy food and you bring
Are
it
we
to the
forgetting the
office,
cocoa?
oh, the cocoa early in the morning,
Cocoa.
I remember
It was gathered like diamonds.
it was too precious, too precious. I remember
Hey, somebody will buy three and then put it in the locker. Hey, somebody has taken my cocoa. No, I have two here.
you know I
Oh,
remember it was there was an unwritten rule. When you buy food and you bring it to Sky, it does not belong to you because there's no way you are going to eat it alone.
it is
Nobody
alone. Everybody
eats
needs
alone,
some.
because
Ah,
you'll be eating at a corner, maybe two, three people are eating the same food. Somebody just came from town or from somewhere else, sees it, and then straight
what
away,
can
no
enjoy?
permission. They just join.
Oh, that's
When I spoke to Rutai, um, you know, everyone I speak to so far expresses the same sentiment. And Rutai had a beautiful way of describing it. He said all the staff, all the people he worked with were like siblings. And I
oh yes,
thought, how beautiful. It's so true
yes,
as well.
yes. Yeah. That's the appropriate word. We were like siblings. And you see, the way Willie also, his attitude towards us was great. You know, he didn't behave like a boss.
Hmm.
And I think that the small bro, big bro also helped because we saw him as a big brother. We didn't see him as a boss. And um, that's one thing that, well, it helped with the management of the company and everything. But when I moved to a bigger platform, I I found the bureaucracy and whatever quite intimidating because I wasn't used to that. I
Yeah.
was used to just entering my boss's office, going to say my peace of mind and getting out. If I don't agree with him, I'll just go and tell him I don't agree with him. And he wouldn't be annoyed with me or anything. He listened to my side of the story and explained to me why he has decided to go that way. If he thinks that my way is the better option, he says, why not? Let's take your way and all that. But that doesn't exist where I am now. I began to appreciate the kind of environment I was working in, better appreciate the kind of environment that I was working in. Because we would just have a meeting, take a decision, and quickly it's being implemented.
On the fly,
And you know,
just so quickly.
ah,
Yeah. There
so
was
quickly,
zero bureaucracy. There was absolutely zero
ah,
bureaucracy. And I remember each and every one of us would have a face to face disagreement with Wilson. We'd tell him our peace
oh
of
yeah,
mind. Like I've said to a few of our colleagues, so many times Wilson would come and want the news, a particular news delivered
mm-hmm,
or written a certain way, and we
yeah.
basically kicked him out. We basically kicked him out of the newsroom.
When it's coming to the news, you'll be peeping. You remember those times that you used to have hot altercations before news at 8.
Yes.
When it's going on at Kwame, that's you, Mr. Mode, come and peep. Then you just run back.
Yes. Yeah, I think without saying it directly, we kind of almost banned him from the newsroom. So you're right. He
You
would come. He almost never at some point entered the
do.
newsroom with his full body. He just, as you said, peeped through to see whether it is safe to even look. Because I don't think Wilson successfully won any argument against Atukwam Nadazi, myself, or Mr. Mode. I mean, it's impossible, I mean,
Oh,
we knew he would, if he came, to the last point, he will make the final decision. But boy, would we
yeah.
stand our ground? Absolutely, And Wilson, one of our colleagues, described accurately so that he's a very hands-on person in his management,
Yes,
and
yes.
and there was nothing about the station he didn't know. He knew everything.
Mhm.
He would select
Everything.
music for presenters to play. He would tell people
Yeah.
how the advert should be produced, and he knew
Mm. The
every single
LPM,
thing.
even how they should be
The
read.
live presenter. He wrote the live presenter mentions. In fact, incidentally, Wilson does have a good handwriting. I remember one time
Yes.
when um, Samuel Ansah wrote a certain news that I couldn't read because it was just terrible handwriting. I gave it to Wilson and said, "Look, just interpret this, just write it out." And Wilson's handwriting is so easy to read. So
Yeah.
that's one way he contributed. You know.
Especially the news.
Tell me your recollections about the the troubled newsroom with its dysfunctional people, including me.
Oh, newsroom. Well, I remember that before, we used to do the 8 a.m. news,
Hmm.
and there was always an altercation before 8 a.m. And it was amazing because, in spite of the arguments and everything, somehow the news was ready and somehow was delivered calmly. And then we'll get back, and it would be as if nothing had happened, you know? And then I remember Asokwamina Dazi, he introduced the word bele into the newsroom. And
Yes.
he became he
And,
became
and
part of
tell
the
me,
language.
Bele specifically means what in English? Even though I do have an idea, I want to hear it from you.
Fool.
I think it goes deeper than that. Isn't it more like imbecile?
Yeah, imbecile. And let me give some. As I told him, I remember him. I laughed. I remember when I went to Legon first year, I got a phone. No, I hadn't even gone. Oh, yes, I had gone. I think I bought a phone, and there was vibration in it.
Mm-hmm.
So one day I was standing by him. We had just one computer or so. So everybody, you go and stand by whoever. I was typing a script, and the phone was in my pocket, and I received a call. It was the phone was on vibration. I received a call, so the phone was vibrating. I was leaning over. So I said, "Just jump, Jesus, you are vibrating."
You're vibrating.
Oh my goodness, you are vibrating. I said, "Hey, it's a phone." She said, bring it, let me see." You know, it's attitude.
And
The way we laughed at him.
so at that time, mobile phones
Was
were still fairly new. He probably didn't have a mobile phone at
very
the time.
either he was an intern from DIJ or he had freshly graduated, from DIJ. Yeah, I don't think he had one. And another incident, he was playing with his children, Mame and Kwabena, and I think he hit Kwabena, and Kwabena said, "Ouch!" Okay, Nana, hey, don't say ouch, say ade.
Because, ouch, it's more English. So don't say ouch. Say ajay. At all.
He had probably never heard ouch before. So what is ouch?
because
Oh,
because
yeah,
those kids were all born in England, right? So
England, yeah. And
when
I think that time they had gone for holidays and come back. So like it was fresh again.
yeah,
They came to Ghana and speaking Chi and all that, but they went for holidays and came back. So
hmm
it was like they were back to speaking their mother tongue kind of thing.
yeah.
And said, "Hey, don't say out, say I do." I said, I don't.
See, you see, most people's minds don't work like that too. So, which is why he is a certified madman, you know, and and very intelligent. I think. Do you know what? I don't
Yeah.
know, but I find this, and I may be completely wrong. I find this with a lot of reasonably intelligent people. This it seems to come with some madness, craziness, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, in order to work at Sky, you need to be mildly intelligent.
Mad.
So
Yeah.
I think it would have been Eloy Amande who was saying to me that it felt as if Wilson went around and picked all the mad people in town and brought them together to Sky.
Going to every work. I used to have this thing with Eloy.
Yeah.
Ours was to argue. And you know why we argue? Because the day before, the night before, we would have learned some new words in English. So we have to come and show off. So, when when I see Eloy, hey, stop vituperating. Then you go like, what is that? Hey, I got you don't understand every day. And now Jolly was the judge, if you remember. So, hey, Ewurama, what's the meaning of that? Now say it. Okay, let's take a dictionary. Hey, you are correct, Eloy. You don't understand. Oh, Sky.
You know,
Oh, it was fun.
it was actually earlier today, much earlier today, when I spoke with Eloy Amande. And I haven't spoken
Okay.
to Eloy Amande since 2005. I mean, that's how bad it is.
Wow.
Yeah, awful,
Wow.
awful, for such close friends, Anyhow, during our interaction, it's as if we never stopped talking. Right at the beginning, do you know what Eloy called me? He said, Philip, I'm sorry, but you were a bastard. And somehow he meant it as a compliment, because he said when he came and he decided he was interested in the news and came to the newsroom, he couldn't believe some of the treatment, as part of the process of learning, Yeah. And
Yeah.
I told Kwame that is probably a special basket case in himself,
Also.
because you just cannot tell what he's going to say next, or even what
Next.
he's going to do, you know. And I think along the way I picked some of that cheekiness, whereas
Yeah.
I don't know that I was that cheeky naturally. Maybe something can bring it out, and I too brought quite a bit out of me, you know. And I remember, this is probably something you recall as well, that we ended up, because there were almost never official long winding meetings and taking notes and all this thing, writing memo, this and that. It was a very informal environment, yet everything worked
Yeah.
like clockwork. Somehow Wilson found a reason to every now and then come and say, well, this is a decision by management and blah blah blah. And then Ato and I will look at each other's face, trying to work out, what the management is, because we've never really felt like there was management in place. Everything worked perfectly. So we decided that, okay, management means Wilson Arthur. So we started calling him management. So Ato will come and come to me and say, Philip, management wants to speak to you. You know, that means one person.
The management.
The management.
Uh,
and to his credit, Wilson, I don't remember him taking offense in our posture. I think he himself described it one time when he said, "Look, when you're working with talented people, you have to come down to their level because they're all different people with different abilities, and you can't fully control them. It's impossible, you know." And I remember speaking to Phillip Nyakpo, and he was saying a similar thing, how Wilson would try to impose his image on the music he played, even the local music, high life, etc. But Kofi decided, no, I would do it my way. And every now and then Wilson would come and say, but Pa, this, and we agreed on something else. How come? And he said, okay, no problem. Next time he does it his own way. Eventually Wilson gave up. But it turns out it was good for the station because people came to recognize and appreciate Kofi's own style of music. And you know, and next thing you know, he brings Dono and was playing it live on air, something that in a normal course of radio would not happen. But it fit in. Then, of course, we ended up with another crazy, hopelessly crazy guy, Kwame Jokoto. You know?
Kwame Jokoto.
And you think,
oh, Kwame Jokoto came to meet you.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, my goodness. Yes. We had a lot to do together. He was always like tirelessly teasing everyone and making trouble for everyone. And I think he's about the only one I know who didn't change when he went on air. It's the same crazy person you saw. You know, and his effectiveness was that he was so thoroughly honest about his comedy and about his sense of humor. You know,
We used to have pins. Skyy Power
Oh,
I think
the newsletter. Yeah. The newsletter Atu and I were writing. Yes. Skyy Power Inner News.
So
Spin. Oh, that was scandalous. Spin was
when you
scandalous.
can do something, by the time you realize it's on the board.
It's on the board for everybody to hear, no matter how stupid. You know? So I remember people tried to preempt a lot of stories that ended up in that in-house magazine, but it just made it worse. You know? And I think we wrote all against management as well, you know, all the time. You know, Wilson was often the butt of some of our cruelest jokes. You know? It was like an environment that would be very hard to replicate, you know, because the passage of time means, look, it's gone. You can't bring it back. You know, you can't bring it back. But what a great group of people we all were. You know, what a great group of people. And that is why I am not surprised at all the bigger and better things everyone moved on to do, you know. Did you meet Kwesi Fletcher and King B and Michael Griffiths? Okay, I think these were other great guys who I think left within the first year or soon after. And they will be delighted to know that after they left, these are the sort of people that followed, you know, and kept the flame, you know, kept the tradition, you know. But of course, think of it, Ewurama, we didn't have the internet mostly in those early years to work with. There was no Facebook, not even Google existed at that time. I mean, who would have thought, you know? I mean, I'm struggling to explain to my 10-year-old that there is a time we didn't have mobile phones and internet, and he looks at me like, did you just came from under a rock, you know? And I think our children, your boys, would have a similar view. So there's so
Yeah.
little they know about the past, and so we kind of
Mm.
owe them the need to let them see that, hey, there was a different kind of world. We made
Mm-hmm.
friends without internet. you know
Yeah.
And,
And then, those were very rich experiences, the human factor. You wouldn't come and see, if you see anybody preoccupied, that person is probably reading a book.
hmm
But
hmm
now what do we see? Everybody's engrossed in the phone, and you are together, but you're not together, and all that. So after that time, it's priceless. The time was those moments of priceless.
what would you say is the legacy of Sky as it introduced private broadcasting to Sekene Takrady and the Western region, perhaps even including the Central region?
Sky's legacy was getting the people in the two regions to realize that radio, radio can be closer to you, and radio can impact. Radio can do more, especially because Sky spearheaded so many developmental projects within Western region. Sky made an impact on the media space, not just within the Western Central region, but across the nation. So the legacy of Sky is training quality media personnel for the media industry.
It had to happen at some point. Private broadcasting
Mm,
had to happen at some point. Sky
mm,
happened to be the one that introduced it as it is, with a lot of
yes,
credit to Wilson, his wife, and his brother, Kennedy Arthur, and Ajomufa, as it is. And it is an unusual business where what you're putting out, the enterprise you built, is people feel like they own it, like it belongs to them. They have
mhm,
a part in it. They are genuine stakeholders, in a way that a normal business cannot claim. And as it is, naturally, it spawned many other broadcasting institutions, so that at this point, as you said, there are more than 30 radio stations in Secondary Takrady. That's just incredible. And I'm personally proud that you are spearheading one of such leading radio stations in Secondary Takrady,
mm,
from your simple experience of not being able to get enrolled in the university in the first year that you expected, until the second year when it happened for you, and that
mhm,
disappointment, you turn it around as to look for adventure at Sky. That became a place where you learned so much, as you described in this
yeah,
conversation.
yeah.
I'm very proud of you. you know,
Thank
and
you. Thank
it feels good to be able to stand somewhere to say, yeah, Shirley Ewurama Smith, I know her. I worked with her. Yeah, we were in the
thank you.
trenches together. It's
Oh,
you know
so
something to be very proud of. I wondered, Rama, before you go, whether you could say a word about the news review, which was the Sunday program, because I'm thinking of the wonderful guys that made contributions, guys that are not employees of Sky, like Captain Sowu, like Tony Osei
yeah.
Jesse, and Maka Prekun, and all these guys.
Enjoyed listening to them because these were people who knew what they were talking about, and it's that they had the facts, they did their homework well. So when they come on air, they are well. Some may be quite biased, but it wasn't so obvious, so blatant. You got objective analysis, and it was a joy to listen to. It was a joy to listen to, and these people were so committed. You talk about the fact that they were not employees of Sky, but they were so committed. It was like, at that time, everybody wanted to contribute this on her quota kind of thing, to make whatever was happening a success. And you can't compare the quality that we had to what we have today. After today, if you listen to news review or whatever, well, gradually the terrain is changing now, and media houses are shifting from the usual political representation to people with the technical know-how and all that. So it makes it quite interesting. But when you go to the Akan stations, that one it's not whatever. It's not the best. But Kai, I have fond memories of the news review. I have fond memories of listening and enjoying the different perspectives and all that. Yeah, I admire their commitment. The fact that they just wanted to contribute to make it happen. And the moderation too. I remember you did some, Manesi McCanson, and Esso also used to do some. It was nice. People did well. Yeah, it was great.
It's a, a fine tribute to all these amazing guys, including you.
Yeah.
And the weirdness of this conversation is that we are actually talking about ourselves, you know, except it is deserved, it is deserved. Yeah.
Mm,
What wonderful memories. And the fact that it became the foundation of our numerous friendships, you know. And I'm thinking
yeah.
of what you said earlier, how, you know, um, you close from work and perhaps you're not working the next day or whatever, it was weekend, but you still feel
Mm,
like you just want to come to the station. And
yeah.
after work, you still spend time with the people you've been working with. Whereas, most of the time, people don't be spending much time with the people they work with. They finish work and then that's it.
Mm,
But it was different
mm,
in our time and in the conditions we experienced. They are absolutely fond memories that will hold, and we'll cherish for a long
right.
time
Yeah.
to come. And thank you, Ewurama, for your time. Really appreciate it. And normally we should be having conversations about ourselves, but this is a little bit different, knowing that it's a little
Yeah.
bit for the record. And I look forward to talking to you again soon, where we can talk about ourselves.
But
Yeah.
so I must also commend you for this initiative. I think it's awesome, and I pray that I get the strength to be able to carry it out. All the best.
Thank you very much. And if I am eventually able to do it, it will be because I had your help.
Oh, that's nice.